Money is a powerful technology that is so deeply ingrained into our everyday lives that we don't even think about it as a technology. That is, something that is created and designed by people. So, we don't think we have choices when it comes to money, but we do. New money is constantly created by banks and central banks, mostly against credit. Control over issuance has always been powerful and has historically been delegated by society to banks. Modern cryptography allows us to move money creation from a few trusted entities to everyone, democratizing its value. This means no institution is needed for issuance. Circles is a system that works for the individual and strengthens their local economy, but can also grow into a truly global currency network. Circles lets everyone create their own currency at one circle, known as CRC, per hour. Payments flow through a trusted network where you can control whom you trust and whose circles you hold. Anyone is allowed to join the network. This ensures universal access, but it also means you should only trust people that you know and trust in your life. If you trust a malicious person who has 10 accounts, no one else will want their currency, and you will be stuck with these circles. People can form groups, converting their personal currency into group tokens, which are more widely accepted and promote local trade or integrate into existing financial products. To ensure that the 1 CRC per hour you create remains valuable over time, all Circles balances decrease a little each day, totaling 7% per year. Circles isn't just a new way of thinking about money. It's a practical, accessible system that is built to work for everyone. Join Circles today and start creating money that works for you and everyone else.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Circles launch party. I'm super excited. Today is a big day. And just for those who don't know, we just went live with Circles V2. It's been a culmination of years and years of effort by the team. And we're gathered here today to kind of celebrate this huge milestone. As an introduction, I'm Deep Shah. I head growth and distribution at Gnosis, and I've worked on several projects within this awesome company. I will just give a quick intro about the format today. We will be joined by many speakers. To start off, we will have the co-founders of Gnosis and Julio to talk a little bit about Circles, what we did, that like the past, present, and future of Circles, as well as what's the new reality. Why do we need Circles in this new world? This will be followed by a talk about money for a multipolar world by Paul. And then we'll showcase some of our initial launch partners to kind of join and talk about why they've chosen to partner with Circles. And at the end will be a short introduction on Metri and our first consumer social app for users to access Circles in a most easy fashion. And yeah, so without further ado, I would like to introduce our initial speakers. We have Frederique here, we have Martin, and we have Stefan and Julio. Frederique, Martin, and Stefan are co-founders of Gnosis. For those who don't know, they've done awesome things in the past decade. They've built some amazing products, and they're also core contributors at Circles. We also have Julio, who is one of the co-founders of Circles UBI or Circles V1. We're very excited to have all of you, and I will leave the stage for you guys.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I was spending the day going a bit through kind of history of Circles, and yeah, essentially it's now a 12 or 13 years journey from kind of first write downs of how that could look like towards many many teams and people and that have been over the years been involved in Circles, and the idea of creating more fair money essentially, but then of course also a lot of technical work and products, and that's certainly where kind of the Gnosis side comes in. So on Gnosis we built many things over the years, but almost all things that we did build had, at least in my mind, some connection to Circles, and that's now became today obvious in the launch of Circles v2, and very concretely this wallet Metri that we have been building now since 1.5 years, and that is actually using almost all Gnosis products.
So Circles has been sorry. Yeah, Circles has been super long in the making, as kind of like Deep and Martin already alluded to, and a lot of the basic in the beginning it was more of a pipe dream, right? Kind of like there was no way to kind of sustainably build this and so on, but now there is, and I feel it's a tremendously exciting next chapter for Circles in the wild.
Yeah, maybe introducing or kind of bringing Julio in a way on the stage. So I think the list of people who have essentially made Circles their own project is long, but Julio is certainly someone who stands out and kind of who has been crucial for making Circles from this kind of just an idea to something people actually use and or have been using in the past already, and hopefully will be using even more in the future. Maybe Julio, you can give your summary of how you got involved and why you think it matters.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. And I wanted to take a second to also congratulate you all. All of you I've known for many years. I remember when I first joined Circles, the Gnosis safes were still like designed the front end by mathematicians and cryptographers. So it was very early days, and it's so fun and nice to see how far all these things have developed over the years. I first got introduced to Circles when there was a conjunction of people within the early Ethereum ecosystem converging around it. So it was a mix of people within the early MakerDAO team, within the early Consensus team, and also you, Martin, and Frederici, and the sort of Gnosis ecosystem. So I joined then. I was at the time studying anthropology at the London School of Economics, and I was studying questions about money and value with my late Professor David Graeber. We were exploring this question about how could we actually make basic income a reality without having to wait for a central bank or a state to do it. And so when, at the time, I think it was Martin Lundvall, who was at the time in MakerDAO and later in the Ethereum Foundation, he approached me asking me if I would join and if I would contribute to the project. And of course I said yes. I thought it was a very interesting and novel idea at the time. This was 2017. And at the time, as you all know, like the tooling for Ethereum applications was not really, it was in its infancy in a way. So we had to build a lot of things from scratch. At the same time, we also had to build a lot of community from scratch and really try to connect people here in Berlin to actually get the pilot going. So for me, Circles was always an experiment in a way of trying to say, what would it be like if we actually just did it? If we actually just made our own money system from the bottom up and then claim it as a basic income. And that was a very interesting journey. We launched it, I think it was 2020, no? When we launched it 2019, I forgot the year, but it was in like late October. At the time we were in the market in Berlin, and it was really interesting because many people joined at the time. You might remember that there was this sort of viral moment on Twitter where it exploded, the app exploded, and mind you, at the time we were like 5 people actually building this thing, and it was like Sarah Friend doing the work on the smart contracts and blockchain things, and Andrea Cialoja doing a lot of the other elements of the app. Saraswati Subaraman doing a lot of the designs, and Blanca Vibe like helping to like connect the dots and lead the project in many ways. So it was a very small team, and then we got this amazing attention from all over the world. But then it was funny because then the app couldn't work locally. People couldn't buy their food, beers, vegetables, whatever they wanted, and so that was the beginning. And then we actually had to do the hard work of talking to people from all corners of the planet, really, that were interested. I used to hold assemblies in Chinese, in English, and in Spanish, in different time zones, so that people at the time Shenzhen actually was a big hub. Many people were using it then, and like that we started also in Berlin doing this kind of assemblies and starting to build a local economy. We worked a lot with farmers in the region around Berlin, Brandenburg, with different local producers of things like beer and basic services and so on. And it was quite a nice experience. I think it triggered the imagination in people around the world that it is actually possible to have this kind of alternatives. So yeah, I was very, very happy co-parent of Circles for many years. And I think in around 2023, we had already set up a cooperative to run the pilot and administer and do the research. We did collaborations with Freiburg University. I am myself serving for many years as public outreach for the Basic Income Earth Network. So I always had a foot within the blockchain world, the crypto world, to try to build bridges across the different movements of this world to make basic income a reality. And so Circles has definitely been a part of that journey. So yeah, I'm just very happy to see now that we have Circles V2 finally launched. I remember when we were just in 2017 sketching the system, we already thought of group currencies for many years, and we knew it was going to happen just because of how we were thinking and modeling how the trust and the liquidity of the system would work. And so it's really beautiful to now see it implemented, and within an embedded app that also gives you the capabilities of having stable coins that you can potentially co-pay with. So a lot of the early ideas that we had are now being implemented, and the infrastructures are also getting more thick. So I'm very excited to see what's next and how this can be embedded within larger systems. So thank you very much. And I pass it to Stefan.
All right, I want to just raise one point. So I think what we saw is in version 1, we had those very local and I think also strong communities, but still also very small communities. And now I think what we are trying to do in version 2 is in a way, kind of make the app more, let's say, mainstream, or kind of accessible for people who haven't thought for years, let's say, about money and local economies. But of course, that is a difficult balance. And maybe I'm curious about you, Julio. What do you think are the things that Circles should try to maintain from its kind of previous spirit, I'd say, and where are things where you say it's good to go mainstream?
Yeah, so I think one of the big debates we always had was around this question of the global versus the local. And initially, because it was a very experimental system at the time, I was very much for doing a local first kind of application where we could test this on the ground in a place like Berlin and see how it would develop and sort of build those relationships. Trust really has many meanings, many dimensions, let's say, and so it's not to be taken lightly. I think that's really, really important. Even today, a lot of the trust building that we have made over the years is still with us and is growing in a different way. So I think that is something that we really need to keep, like this sort of communal trust relations, or mutualistic trust relations, if you want, or bilateral ones, multilateral ones that actually can create a real economy. And connected to these larger, broader systems, I think now it will be interesting to see how we could do this sort of translocal or glocal, as some people call it, system where you can make your group currencies and have different ones and embed them within the different social relations that people have. The thing that always made me feel that Circles was a very beautiful system was this idea of the 6 degrees of separation that connect everyone on the earth, and how you could actually have a way to express those relationships with Circles, and also through the trust be able to send money and settle obligations and things like that. So I think definitely the spirit for we're living now in a moment of multiple crises. So I am always of the belief that we should have local solutions to global problems. And so Circles is both a local and a global, potentially global system. So I'm hoping that as an infrastructure, it could serve as part of the set of tools that we will need for the coming transition.
Thanks, Julio. Stefan, would love to hear a few words from you as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, I know Circles almost as long as I know Martin, because I think I've always been, I think Martin's dream and focus to bring this project to a reality. And as usual, Martin is always ahead of its time. So I think when we first discussed this in, I don't know, almost a decade ago, I think it was kind of obvious that AI would play probably a bigger role. Now I think the awareness of probably most of our jobs, probably including ours, will diminish. And the question is simply what comes next. And if you look at the list of people that are supporting the idea of a general concept of EBI, it is striking to me that especially those that are benefiting the most of the current system are the ones that are also advocating for UBI or believe that UBI is the only solution. Specifically, if you look at let's top leaders in technology, so you can ask Bill Gates, you can ask Elon Musk, you can ask Peter Thiel. They all will give the answer that a system like UBI is ultimately what will be needed in order to succeed from here. And I truly think that Circles is probably the most well-suited experiment to scale to a large degree, more than any other system. Of course, there have been many experiments in the past in terms of, we have a very small local community where we deploy some money and give people some income over some period of time. But those were always very local. They were not very technological advanced, so they were always constrained by those limiting factors. And I think Circles right now is by far the most advanced from a technological perspective in terms of how we can distribute it, but also how it can scale, because it doesn't have the limitations of a centralized entity kind of taking control, but is truly decentralized from the get-go. And I think that is also required in order to scale it to a really meaningful amount of users, which ultimately is what is relevant, obviously, to actually make it work, because something like Circles can ultimately also only work when it's a bit more widely adopted. So that's why I'm very excited that finally, after so many years, we can confidently say technology is mature enough to actually do this leap forward and try this on a meaningful scale.
I would make one more comment here to say I do also think that the decentralization of circles makes it essentially more scalable. But I would also say that it, of course, also matters for the outcome. So kind of, or the decentralization matters for the outcome. So kind of course, there can also be a world where you have one big entity or one big company that kind of tries to do a global UBI or something like that. But the power structure of such a system will be extremely different from the power structure that would come into place if Circle is successful. And I much rather prefer the power structure where the power lies at the individual, as we try to do it in Circles, versus kind of having this one huge and probably too powerful entity.
Maybe just to complement that point really quickly, I think at a deeper level, it's also important to say that Circles is not just about UBI, but really reclaiming this power to create money from the perspective of people. And I think that's really a paradigm shift in the way that the current monetary system works, right, with state money and bank money. So, a fair money, a people's money is something that is definitely needed in the world, especially now. And I think Circle somehow keeps for me at least, the soul of Ethereum alive in terms of its early ideals. So I'm really excited to be part of this adventure and hope that we can succeed.
That's awesome. Like one thing I commonly see on stage is everyone is smiling like eye to eye, literally at this point, to see everyone, like to see the app go live finally. Before we move on to the next kind of small short talk by Paul, Martin, would you like to maybe share a 1 minute, 2 minute explainer on Circles for the viewers that are new to it or the viewers that have just joined us?
Yeah, sure. So Circles is basically asking this question of if we would design money from scratch and we would design it to the benefit of the people who are using the money, how would we do it? And the solution Circles comes up with is to say that specifically the money creation or how money initially comes into circulation should benefit the people, and has this very simple rule of every participant in the network can generate or newly create 1 circle per hour. Once circles are created, then they can just be transferred and paid and so on, just like quote unquote regular money, but the money creation is important. But then, of course, the system needs to decide who can create money and kind of who is even a person. And here it uses a web of trust as a solution, and in a way says everyone can create money, but it's then your decision whether you accept this money. And essentially, by trusting someone in Circles, you are saying, okay, if we are trusting each other, you are saying, okay, I accept your circles, you accept mine circles, and by that they become essentially interchangeable or fungible. And then if you want to pay someone in Circles that you don't know or who doesn't trust you, then as long as there's a trust pass between you and the person you want to pay, that payment works.
Awesome. That was concise. Thank you so much, Martin, and also Friederike, Stefan, and Julio for joining us. Next up, we have Paul Bose, who's a researcher at Circles, as well as one of the core contributors of the white paper. Paul, over to you.
Hi, Deep. Hi, thanks. So I'm one of the team members at Circle, and I'm also one of the co-authors of the Circles white paper. And over the next couple of minutes, I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what we say in this white paper. It's a 50-page document. It's probably the most sort of detailed exposition of the ideas of the protocol. So I encourage all of you to read it, but I wanted to give you a high-level overview as well. So I hope that you can now see my screen. Deep, can you confirm?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So the way to get to the white paper, for starters, is just by navigating to the website, and then you see here the white paper. As I said, it's a 50-page doc. And so quickly wanted to just share a couple of words about this. So, I mean, I think it's great that I get the slot now because I can build on what the guys ahead of me have said. The main argument of the white paper is that we go into this establishing that better money is needed, that we need to understand money as a technology that we can design, and that we now have all the tools required to build it, and we don't need to be satisfied with the status quo. And so we ask this question, well, if we can do that, how should money work? And we think that money that becomes voluntarily adopted, that doesn't get imposed on people by some jurisdiction, but instead people choose to do, should have at least four qualities. It should be universally accessible. It should be created by everyone. Access to the supply should be fair, also for people who are late to the party, right? There shouldn't be a small group of people that kind of sit on the bulk of the supply, because that's going to discourage late joiners from adopting the currency, and hence that would never really become money in the typical sense of becoming a medium of exchange. And it should also ideally allow communities to organize themselves economically. So this is the kind of money that we think should exist and that doesn't yet exist. So how can we at a protocol level design a currency that satisfies all of these features? And that is the question we try to address in the white paper. Martin already gave a great introduction to it, and I'm not going to repeat that. But our best shot at designing this currency is this currency protocol that consists of four core rules: universal access, distributed issuance at a steady rate of 1 circle an hour, demurrage, which means that all of the circle's balances reduce nominally at 7% a year, and this rule of trust that somehow introduces a kind of a partial fungibility between the different kinds of circles currencies, CSC currencies, that all the participants create. And so this is a depiction here of how this rule of trust would work. So essentially, people often experience the Circles protocol as, relatively complicated. And what we try to establish that it's not because we love complex protocols. It's not something that we do for its own sake. It's the simplest possible protocol that we could think of to address these very ambitious currency that satisfies all of these different properties. And so in the white paper, we distinguish between the macro level and the micro level. The micro level is the level at which everybody constantly creates their own non-fungible token. So we see here, participants holding some B, like some Bob circles, some Alice circles. And in this micro level, we actually allow for the possibility that there are malicious agents, which here means people that, for example, have duplicate accounts. Because everybody can create an account. We won't ask for a KYC procedure or anything like that. And everybody can start creating money, right? So the question is, how do we keep those out? And the macro level is essentially sort of the emergent level at which our hypothesis is that only honest accounts that play according to the rules of the currency survive, and that for those accounts, effectively, one or very few global currencies emerge. And the rule of trust that Martin alluded to is the kind of filtering mechanism for filtering out these. So I'm not going to go into any of these things in detail. I just wanted to mention some of the things that we cover in the white paper. At the macro level, we talk about how we think that the rules of Circles establish fair access to money supply. We talk about some of the implications of, what does it mean if everybody starts creating their own money? How does this affect the distribution of the money supply? and how does that, for example, compare to a UBI? We also discussed it and kind of justify why we picked the parameters that we picked, in particular 7% the Mirage and 1 circle an hour. Of course, you could in theory think of others. So we talk about why we chose the values that we did. And we also talk about an interesting property of circles, which is that it might actually be quite price stable. So unlike inflationary currencies, like the euro, for example, we might see if circles was to become adopted, that actually over decades, the price of circles would stabilize or even go down. And at the micro level, we talk about the kind of mechanics of this rule, of these rule swaps in detail. We talk about how this develops a kind of Sybil resistance against malicious parties. We talk about the emergence of global fungibility, so kind of going from the micro to the macro level. And we also discuss, for example, how what happens if different people, if different people's circles get traded, and what would be kind of like the equilibrium exchange rate dynamics that we would expect. Finally, of course, we talk about the major new feature of the Circles v2, which are groups. So, what can they do? What are some use cases that we think are interesting for people to create Circles groups around? And also, how do we think of them as being a vehicle for allowing for everybody to pick their own preferred points on the spectrum of a currency that is maximally resilient or maximally efficient? So there's various ways, tiers of getting your feet wet. There is, of course, the white paper itself, but we also have a manifesto, which you can find on the website. And if there's an FAQ section that covers some of the basic questions. And if you want to contribute to this discussion, then actually the white paper contains a link here in the first footnote to a decentralized doc where we have a copy of the white paper, and people are already contributing to the conversation around how to improve this protocol further. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what all of you think about the currency, and I pass it back to Deep.
Thank you so much, Paul. It was super insightful to learn about the Circles mechanics. And as Paul mentioned, one of the core new features that we have in Circles v2 is groups. And we have like a few key launch partners, communities or organizations that have partnered with us to help us spread the word of groups in Circles and essentially benefit users. And I would like to call up on stage a few of our launch partners. Yes. Awesome. Hey, Chris. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Deep. Hey, all.
Hey, Jerome.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Joseph. Awesome. It's great to see you guys here. Thank you so much for taking the time out. I'll keep this short, maybe starting with Jerome, and then Jose, Joseph, Mike, and Chris. It would be lovely to have an introduction about you guys, what your community does, and how you guys plan to integrate or work with Circles for your community.
All right. So, well, first, thank you for the invitation. Super glad to be here with you all, guys, and to see both Josephs at the same time. One is upside down, the other can flip around. Okay. Cool. So I'm Jerome. I'm the founder of Cometh and also with Jerome France and EthCC. At EthCC, we will be welcoming Circle as part of the sponsors. So very excited to see all the activation that we will do at EthCC with Circles. If you're in France, we'll also widely use Circles. We try our best to onboard the French community on this new adventures and take the best out of the groups and the different features that we can find there. We are very keen on exploring the different possibilities that universal basic income brings. And at Cometh, we have a special relation with Circles because we power some of the features of the Metri wallet. I was really paying attention of what Martin and Stefan were mentioning about the initial launch of Circle, of how ambitious the project was compared to the state of the technology back in the days. from the initial white paper to the first V1 and so on. And at ComF, we specialized in account abstraction and making seamless onboarding and seamless experience for non-necessarily Web3 native users. One of the key R&D stuff that we developed was the integration of passkeys over Solidity, its optimizations with a couple of partners, notably the former Ledger R&D team, and then the integration into Safe. We powered multiple applications this way, and we were really humbled by the comments of Gnosis regarding the tech and how it was flying. And ultimately, we were selected as one of the tech partners for the wallet. So, well, I was looking at the numbers, and it feels like it's skyrocketing, and so far the servers are not burning. So thank you for using Metri, for trying it out. I hope you like the passkey integration and how seamless it is, even if you have one password and different secret managers. The bundler is working well. We have account abstraction that is quite mature now in the whole Ethereum EVM ecosystem. So it's also really good to see one of the first major app going live and leveraging account abstraction this way. And I'm glad to say that I'm going to onboard my mother and my grand aunt on this on Metri because I trust them, and I feel like they are technical enough to use such currency to send money here and there. And this is the state that we are in right now in our industry. Like we can onboard millions, and we can provide them with a much more impactful innovation on money than even than what DeFi was. So I'm very excited about what will come next for Gnosis, Metri, and Circles, of course.
That's awesome to hear. Thank you so much for those kind words, Jerome. I think we'll have a true test of Comet's capabilities when we onboard like 10,000 people at ETHCC. But no, thank you so much, Jerome. Maybe Joseph from the ETH Prague team, if you would like to go next.
All right, going once, going twice. Okay, I'll go first. You mentioned a 10,000 person dry run in Cannes at FCC. So I guess we'll be the dry run to your dry run. Very excited to play with onboarding folks as soon as next week, and thrilled to have the team coming to Prague to help out. We've been onboarded ourselves. I have been sort of claiming and inviting some other members of the team. And I'm personally curious to see how this plays out. You know, we in our day-to-day work with a lot of folks that are curious about, got into the industry for DID-related projects, for UBI-related projects, for just alternative system experiments. And that's where a lot of our industry came from. And these days we see that it's a lot of sort of cookie-cutter, highly financialized, raise-based projects. But this is really kind of a back to the roots thing, and it feels good to play with. It's fun in sort of a natural native way. That if it can succeed, I think it really does well, not just for speaks well, not just to all of the innovation that the team brings to the table, but it's something that the industry and the technology can provide that can actually do some good. So it's great to see. Excited to play with it a little bit more and to onboard some folks. And I'll toss to Joseph.
Hey there, I'm the other Joseph from Prague, and yeah, as it was said already, I hope we'll be able to like set up a kind of the actual like small test round right next week in Prague. So I also hope we'll see a lot of the Ledger Circles community members there, and we can actually like do things in person. But what was essentially said already, like I'm super glad and grateful to see these like bold ideas to be executed on, and not just like dropped as like many of the like the great and like crazy projects and dApps that were created in like 2017, 18, and so on. Yeah, I think like ultimately this is, as Joe said, this is the thing that a lot of us actually came into the industry for. for like past few years, we've seen like a lot of like the basic apps that are targeting just like the same thing over and over, trying to onboard like users to better yield in DeFi, or like trying identity for like the 5th time. Like with Circles, like I'm super excited to see like this, like the whole like UBI track is actually like picking pace again, and there are new ideas being tried out. Especially then because of the stuff that we're working on in Prague. Like our aim in Prague is to try to integrate this like Ethereum, not really crypto, but really this like Ethereum value set into the event. Like we're trying to work with a lot of local communities. We've been talking to like local municipalities about local currencies, and we try to really look at these like experimentation layer, and I think there is like a huge value fit and what the entire Circles community does, and what the audience at ETH Prague is looking for. So hey, like next week we can trust each other again.
Fully agree, Joseph, and thanks for both of your words. I think for us, ETH Prague is also one of the most value-aligned events that we're really looking forward to go to. And we can't wait to like onboard more people at Prague and get them a taste of Circles and see how that goes. I'll pass the mic on to Chris to share more about Zuberlin.
Yes, great to see you all, and big congrats on the launch today of Circles V2. We're sitting here at the Full Node office with some of the Circles people, with Paul and Martin, and it's really exciting to follow the developments of like actually a currency use case being adopted. So that has been like my dreams from like 7-8 years ago, that like cryptos should also actually be used for transactions on an everyday basis, and not only just the infrastructure, but we want real adoption for like day-to-day interactions. And for me, when I look at Circles, like it's not only a currency, it's a whole monetary system. It reforms how we can interact with money. And like it has actually this ambitious vision of recreating that. And when you start to poke questions about Sybil resistance and all of those things, the economics behind it, all of these things have been thought about. And that's pretty exciting. And it's really exciting to see kind of the next steps being taken of it going into actual adoption. Because there's still challenges there in terms of the user experience. Like if you're not crypto native, or if you're not that much into like technology and apps, it can be hard in the first steps to get into it. But that's, I feel like, what we're here for, because there's these communities, there have been pop-up villages, there was Suzalu, and we have Zuberlin here. And these places where people actually live together in a closely knit community for a certain time period. For me, that's like one of the perfect experimentation grounds where we can test it out together, where you can actually use CRC and Circles to buy something. You can buy your merch, you can buy a bottle, you can get a massage with Circles, you can interact with each other and give each other like certain services and all these kind of things. And that actually creates a small like bubble of an ecosystem where Circles is actually one of the currencies being used. And so we're super excited about making that happen together with like some of the core Ethereum researchers and people who have thought a lot about monetary systems, and it might be also interesting people to poke a bit around economics and how does like the whole value flow there. And yeah, we're happy to welcome Circles there, having them as a sponsor, but also just making it a real world use case, because it's not just a conference, but it's a place where people live together. We're super close to all the participants. We can like onboard them together, see like where are the struggles, where does it work, where doesn't it work. And then just, creating ideally even a long-term use case and the community around Circles. We're our own group here locally in Berlin, but then also internationally. So we're very much looking forward to that and excited to see that popping up in so many places at the same time.
Thanks, Chris. Like we're super excited to try like really experiment implementing Circles in so many different ways at Zuberlin. And for the users, I mean, Zuberlin is happening 10 to 14th of June, or like, sorry, it's 10 to 22nd?
No, it's 14 to 22nd. It's like a second part of Berlin Blockchain Week. So yeah, we're living together here. It's right after Protocol Berg. It's also at the same time as like DAppCon. Some people will be going to DAppCon, living at Zuberlin, going to DAppCon, and then just staying here and being part of the whole kind of Berlin Blockchain Week emergence, where there's like so many things happening here in Berlin. So very, very excited for the whole crypto space coming here. Like the EF has like an offsite here, and then everyone will be here together. So it's gonna be amazing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And lastly, I'll pass the mic on to Mike.
Yeah, my turn. Yeah, so many like perfect words that describing like circles already was mentioned. So yeah, I just like missed on them all, and just tell that first of all, I'm glad that Block Scout is the launch partner for the circles, and we are trying to do our best to attract and tell about the circles to our users and like to anyone, just to spread the word about this this platform. And in Block Scout, we are trying to encourage and motivate our users to discover different like kind of data on a blockchain. And by this, we have like our MERS program that can help just regular users interact with our product and with products of our partners. And I'm really happy that we already included circles to this pool of partners with whom our users can interact. So yeah, you just need to wait for some like bunch of users who will join and register like on the circles. And yeah, I hope that all these users will be happy and will be interested to interact with such platform. Yeah, and also like I'm also grateful that I can try to test like circles on my own, like on a prog next week. So we'll see how it works on the production, as I can say like this.
Thanks, Mike. So I'm just being informed that the POAP window to mint the POAP is now closed. And that being said, I just want to say a big thank you to all our launch partners for helping and supporting us. And yeah, we will see you guys soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Next up, so we've spoken a lot about the vision for Circles, how did it come along, what we expect to do in the future with it. Paul spoke about a lot of the mechanics of Circles, but how does one really use Circles? Like, how does one interact with it? And for that, we are launching today a consumer app called Metri. Which is the first kind of app that is built on top of the Circles protocols. That is a very easy and intuitive app for people to access and manage Circles and all of Gnosis products that have been built over the years. So I'm going to take the next like 3 to 4 minutes to showcase the key features of Metri. Let me quickly share my screen. I hope my screen is visible. Yes, I think it is. Perfect. So Metri, it's the first gateway to Circles, a social consumer app that is intuitive, that can help you onboard your non-crypto friends to crypto. So in my opinion, Metri basically helps users do 6 key actions. Number 1 is it allows users to join Circles in a few clicks. Very easy to create your account. You could type your username, have your email, set your profile picture, and share your profile with an existing user who needs to trust you so that you can get into the system. Action number 2, Metri allows you to create your own money with 1 click. This is how the main Circles page will look like. You can click on create, and then you can simply scan your Face ID and boom, you create your own Circles. Action number 3, you can very easily build your network on Metri by searching for your friends and then trusting them. Just a note here, when you trust someone, it's a very important action. It's not like as simple as just following someone on social media. Trusting means you actually trust another human and you accept their Circles at the equal rate as yours. So this is the third action that Metri allows. Number 4, we spoke at length about groups. On Metri, you can very easily explore like the top groups and also find out how you can join them and who are the members of the groups. Action number 5, you can, and the best one in my opinion, you can actually spend all your circles that you created on actual goods and services. We're going to have a marketplace that'll be coming soon to Metri, where you can buy regular products. You could buy a ChatGPT subscription. You could maybe buy Tesla stocks as well, or TapCon tickets. And number 6, you can also hold major currencies of the world. So the US dollar, euro, GBP in the form of blockchain tokens. And you can also spend this using a debit card via Gnosis Pay. And all of this brings together the whole suite of products that Gnosis has built over the years into a very simple, consumer-friendly user interface. And the time to join is now. We've just launched. Go to app.metri.xyz and give this a try. So that's about it from the Metri side. We're nearing the end of the launch party. The POAP distribution is now closed. I would like to thank all the viewers who've joined us at this very pivotal moment for us. And thank you to all the speakers who've joined us and shared their thoughts. Thank you. Try out Metri today and give us your comments and feedback so we can improve. Thank you, everyone.